today's cadence, and we would have about whatever 30-40 minutes of session today, and then uh, once the first intro is over, anyone who would have any questions can unmute and ask the questions, or also post the questions on the chat session, so that myself or Shreya, someone can pick them up and ask today's panel.
Yeah, actually, the I think Uday will give the bulk of the time for Q&A, like we discussed. So
very much.
after maybe the first 5-7 minutes,
Absolutely.
we can switch over to Q&A.
Okay.
So there are some pre-posted questions. We can take those first.
Perfect.
And then, yes, any question from anybody in the group, we can take that. So we'd like to keep a large part of the time today actually for
questions.
The Q&A.
Yeah, Q&A. Yeah. So we can begin. I think we already have participants here as well as on the platform. So good afternoon to you all. Today we have a deep dive session on Compass Group's healthcare challenge. So welcome you all on behalf of Compass Group. This is Uday here from Incubate Hub. We have today, the leadership from Compass, Mr. Subrata, Manish, and Pratik, who have joined us, and they would be the panelists for today to take up questions. So as we begin, I would request Subrata to start the introductions, and the floor is yours, Subrata and team.
Yeah, thanks so much, Uday. Yeah, hi folks. My name is Subroto. I lead strategy and transformation for Compass Group India. And with me, I have my colleague Pratik. Pratik leads innovation and transformation programs. I think Manish, I don't know whether Manish has joined in, but we should also shortly have Manish Mamtani on the webinar today from Compass side. Manish is the CIO for Compass India, and I think this the problem statement that we're talking about is something that we are kind of co-sponsoring between the transformation function and the technology team. So what I'd like to do is to spend maybe 5-6 minutes. I think all of you on the call from the startup side, I think all of you have seen the problem statement. So what I'll do in the first 5-6 minutes is to give you a quick summary, maybe a little bit of additional context. I'll not go into the detail of the problem statement per se, because I don't think we need to revisit everything on this call. So I'll take 5-6 minutes to do that, and then I will actually hand over the floor to all of you, and maybe Uday can moderate that. You can use the chat functionality, or you can raise your hand and you can ask questions on the call. The objective of this call is to ensure that each and every question that you guys have is answered adequately, so that you are in the best position to decide whether this is a challenge that you want to participate in. And if yes, then you have all the inputs and materials required for you to start formulating how the solution to this problem could be designed. So with that, I'll just give you a quick context. The Compass Group, as I think most of you would have already done your research, Compass is the largest food service company, B2B food service company in the world. It's headquartered in UK, but it has presence across many countries around the world. I think pre-COVID was serving about 500 million meals every year across hundreds of clients. Majority of the Fortune 100 clients are actually Fortune 100 companies are actually Compass clients. So about 85% of the global business is from food, where we run all kinds of food programs, including cafeterias and all other kind of institutional food programs across corporates, across hospitals, schools and universities, across offshore and remote installations, mines, military installations, so all sorts of kind of institutional food contracts. And about 15-20% of our business is from support services, which is facilities management and concierge services and all sorts of support services within a corporate, largely a corporate or a manufacturing kind of context, industrial context. In India, so this problem statement that we have we're working with Incubate Hub to figure out who the right partner for us would be. This problem is relevant for the healthcare sector. And I think all of you, most of you on the call, either personally or with your near and dear ones, would have at some point in time had the unfortunate experience of visiting a hospital or going to a hospital or even staying at a hospital, perhaps in some cases. One of the things that you realize when you walk into a hospital, even as a patient or as an attendant or a visitor, is that a lot of the experience around food service delivery is actually manual. It's largely manual. It is there are a lot of aspects of that experience that can be improved, both around the food that is served as well as the overall technology-enabled experience that can be created, something that the patient has visibility to, and also, frankly, that the hospital itself has also visibility to. Today, if you go and try to understand the performance of food service contracts within a hospital, whether it is food for the doctors and staff or whether it's food for admitted patients, the visibility, near real-time visibility or regular visibility to how those food contracts are being executed is extremely limited, because the entire process for the large part is manual, manually tracked, manually managed, in many cases broken. There are very few technology touch points to that process. So if you think about it from the patient context, this is a big problem. Visitor, attendant, staff, big problem, poor experience. If you look at it from the hospital admin standpoint, the client standpoint, it's also suboptimal, because any client, institutional client, would want to have proper visibility to how service delivery is happening within a contract scope within their institution. So the problem statement essentially tries to solve both of those. Essentially, the problem that we are trying to solve is, and if you look at what hospitals really care about, and frankly, even patients really care about, is whether the right food is being served to the right patient at the right temperature at the right time. So you have a few variables. First variable is that it has to be the right food to the right patient. As you can imagine, in any hospital context, food is designed keeping the patient in mind. The condition, what procedure he or she is in the hospital for, underlying conditions like diabetes or hypertension or any other kind of problem that they might have. And so therefore it has to be the right food. It has to be the food that the dietitian has planned for the patient. It has to be at the right temperature, because it's an important part of experience. It's an important part of safety. It's an important part of ensuring that the food that the patient consumes has appropriate nutrition and the ability to drive wellness and recovery. It has to be at the right time. So if the meal service is within a certain time window, let's say lunch is between 12 to 1, then we have to ensure that if each and every admitted patient, is served lunch or breakfast or dinner or snack within that time frame. So the problem statement essentially is asking, how can we leverage technology to solve this overall challenge, maybe in a modular fashion, but orchestrated overall into a technology solution that we can take to hospitals and completely change the game in terms of patient experience and in terms of visibility and control over the process that we would want to look for as a provider, and the client would also want to look for as a client in terms of their understanding and of how well the service is being performed. So that's just a quick summary. There are a lot of details on the Incubate Hub platform. And as we move this discussion forward and we go through the shortlisting process, there is a more detailed document that we can share with folks who we take this forward with. And the idea is to obviously develop this, understand what you have to offer and figure out how it can be piloted and deployed, modified and scaled. And with the right partner, obviously we see a lot of long-term partnership, long-term association, because this is something that we feel will completely change the game as far as the healthcare sector is concerned from a food service delivery standpoint. So with that, let me pause. I don't know whether Manish, you're on the call.
Yeah, I'm there, Subroto. Thanks for this introduction, Subroto. Yeah, just wanted to add Yeah, though the use cases are coming from healthcare sector, but many of these can be applied to other sectors as well. So depending on our success, definitely there is a large opportunity to scale it across other sectors as well.
Thanks, Manish.
Right. Yep. So over to you then.
Thanks, Subroto. Really, thanks for that really very nice overview. I'm sure people would have got sensitized around that whole topic. I think if you can crack this one, obviously, as Manish said, applying the same laterally to other sectors, it might give a lot of insights as well as it will be easier. So, um, from the participants, I would suggest if you want to raise your hand on Zoom, or you can unmute and ask your question. Feel free to.
Yeah. So as the room is warming up, yeah, if it's okay with you, there was some sort of questions shared with us
Yes,
by the Incubator
yes.
team.
Yeah, Subroto. So the couple of questions, I think obvious questions which are there, which maybe I think I will take the liberty to start then before the room warms up. You know, how many locations will be the pilot for? If you can shed a little light on that, then people would know that what size and how they have to be ready with the solution.
Yeah. So again, it's we would imagine a pilot across one or two sites. We really can't imagine a larger pilot than that, because I think with one or two sites, one or two hospital clients, we would be able to ascertain and establish with a high degree of confidence whether it is a solution that we can scale effectively. And our scaling parameters are also clearly mentioned in the problem statement.
Correct.
And if yes, then I think we'll have a different brand of conversation around how do we set up a long-term partnership. And in fact, I will go to the extent of saying that we are very, very open to investments and all of those. Everything is a possibility. There is nothing ruled out. We would love to not have a supplier-client relationship on this. We'd love to have a partnership, co-investment type of relationship on this. So we can discuss all of that at a later stage. But the short answer to your question, Uday, is we would probably pilot at one or two sites maximum.
Thanks. Really, that sets the right context, Subroto, in terms of participants would really understand that this is a serious co-development, joint GTM kind of a partnership where they would be able to integrate the solution across the whole value chain of yours, especially when it comes to food delivery right now. So thanks for that. And any timelines in terms of Subroto, what are we planning to do after this challenge? All the selection is done right now, and what will be the next course of action in terms of the next steps? If there are any timelines you have in mind, that will be helpful.
Yeah. So we're actually a little bit behind the curve, as you guys know from the incubator side, a little bit behind the curve on this. So we would like to actually go through the shortlisting and filtration process as quickly as possible, and zoom in on a few partners that we can do the pilot with, and we would like to do this as quickly as possible. So I would probably say that if we can accomplish all the key milestones through the month of April, then we see no reason why we can't start a pilot sometime in May. So we would like to do this earlier rather than later.
Wonderful. I think that's really, one can get a sense of the whole impending need and also the seriousness in terms of how from both the sides, people will have to really be ready and make resources available to be able to cater to the timelines. Thanks for that, sharing that urgency. And so anyone, if you have any questions, I think I see something on the chat.
Yeah.
But
so I see Gunjali Kothari and Krishna. Maybe Gunjali, because I saw that hand go up first. Maybe Gunjali, you can ask your question, and then Krishna, and then we have from Suresh question on the panel. So maybe let's go one by one. So Gunjali, what was your question?
Yeah.
Hi, Subroto. It's really nice hearing from you, and thank you so much, Incubator, for arranging this session. I just got it in WeChat group, and I just hopped onto it. So I am actually the founder of the company called Easy Hospital. We are a community of small and medium hospitals. So that's why it sounded very interesting to me because I've heard someone say that food is the only thing that a patient understands, so why not just make the best for it? uh, so yes, this is a very good proposition, but my only question is that hospitals are very unorganized and they are very different depending the sizes, the bed sizes, and hence the patients that they cater is also equally different. So what would be your pricing strategies, and are these plans and everything customizable to the different categories of hospitals?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. It's a great question. So I want to be super clear on what our strategy is. So our public hospitals are not our priority. So I just want to put that directly on the table.
Yes.
We are not going to look at public hospitals, government hospitals. We don't believe at this point in time, things may change a decade from now. At this point in time, the value proposition that we are trying to bring to the market around nutrition, wellness, technology, experience, food choices, all of those things, operational performance, service standards. We don't believe at this point in time there's a strong willingness to pay. So our focus is on private hospitals, and that too, I would say, generally speaking, Gujali, to answer your question, mid to large. So I'd say probably 200 beds and above would be the area that we are going to focus on, because we believe that what we are putting together has very high value the larger and larger a hospital gets. Because for a very small hospital, it's just like for a very small company, you can do many things without needing technology, without needing process, without needing actually anything. You can run a small company fairly easily. Similarly, possibly a small hospital. But the larger your hospital is, 200, 300, 400, 500, reaching up to 1,000, and we are aware of which those hospitals are, without the right technology backbone and the right process, it is impossible for you to manage service levels. It's just not going to happen. So we believe that there is significantly higher marginal value the larger a hospital gets in terms of the solution we are trying to look at. Does that answer your question, Gunjali?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Subroto.
Yeah.
So Gunjali, sorry, I think maybe I can add one more point here, is that yes, ours is a highly bespoke business because we go and serve B2B customers. Yes. So 80 to 90% of our offerings is almost similar, but we do customize it at the end level depending on the customer needs. So I think you asked whether you are able to customize it. Yes, we do customize it, but largely we like to keep it standard.
Oh.
Yeah, right. So in the same hospital, if you have a very large international patient population, for example, you might, to Manish's point, you might have a slightly different, or not slightly, significantly different menu offering for them. Similarly for CGHS, different. So all of those things are possible, and we do that actually as a part of the food program design development for any hospital. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to Adarsh, then we'll go to Krishna, and then we'll come to Suresh. There's a question. So Adarsh, what was your question?
Hi, everyone, the Compass team. This is Adarsh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tagbox. We provide traceability and temperature compliance solutions for multiple organizations, like Rebel Foods, etc. So based on this experience that we have had in food and beverage, a few questions. I have a few, so please, be patient. Number one is, so there are 2 or 3 different aspects of the problem statement, as I can understand. See, some of it is temperature compliance in storage, like refrigerators, chillers, etc. Second would be the right food at the right time at the right temperature. So a couple of questions. We have a lot of experience deploying our devices and our entire systems in hospitals for the likes of Siemens and Baxter and so on. One challenge that we have faced is installation of these devices in hospitals sometimes becomes an issue. Any thoughts on that? Hardware devices and readers and so on and so forth. Would that be easy for you guys to do in terms of influence with the hospitals?
Yeah, so if you see the design parameters listed on the, I think it's already that's on the site as well. That's actually a very good question. Yes, that is absolutely correct. That both structurally, in some cases structurally, and in many cases appetite, It is, we would like to focus on a solution that is as hardware light and capex light as possible for two reasons. One is there is only a finite amount of premium that clients are willing to pay for all these things that we are designing and developing. And if the solution is very expensive, then we will just not be able to deploy it because it will not make financial sense for us to load it on the cost and lose the contract. Secondly, a lot of if it is very structurally invasive, infrastructurally invasive, then the hospital will just not allow it. So forget about cost. You just wouldn't be able to allow it. I mean, even the largest and best hospitals may be able to allow it, but the moment you forget the top 20, 30 hospitals in India, no other hospital will go for it, which kind of defeats the purpose. So the purpose here is to scale it. So yeah, I mean, we can just give that as a guidance at this time, Adarsh. Of course, as the nuances come out in terms of the exact design of the solution, we can figure out to what extent what is possible, etc. So
which is perfectly okay.
So others, our endeavor is always to use light hardware as much as possible. Use something where we do not require too much approvals from the customer. Of course, we'll have to go through approval process, but we do not have too much dependency on them. We are able to handle it ourselves. That's our approach always, and hence it has to be hardware light, network light, and all that stuff. You understand because you are in this field.
I completely understood. Yeah, I completely understood. I think that's perfectly okay. There are obviously different kind of ways in which the Lego blocks can be assembled, and thanks for this inputs, because then appropriately when we construct the solution, we'll keep that in mind. The second thing is, like I said, the temperature of storage locations is pretty easy to do, but when we start talking about temperature of food that is served to customers, based on experience with the likes of SATs in Singapore, obviously you don't want anything touching the food to measure temperature. I'm assuming that's the same case here as well. Is that a fair statement? I mean, whatever we do has to be non-invasive from a food perspective.
As much as possible. Others, yes. Yeah, it should be non-invasive. Okay.
Yes.
So infrared kind of a temperature device would definitely be ideal for it. But having said that, we are so basically, again, we don't need to go and take temperature of each and every dish and every tray or the items placed in every tray. So always there is something which you can optimize, that we take the first tray and the last tray in the same block of the I would say IPD. So yeah, so basically we can always work around that to make sure that one, it is not invasive. The second is not that we have to go and take temperature of each and every dish, every tray. We can always put mechanisms to basically see what is the first and last, and then easily see that yes, it is complying to.
Yeah. See, the big thing, Adarsh, here is one of the biggest things is throughput speed.
Yeah.
If you have low throughput speed because you have invasive solutions, there's a big hygiene component to that. Even if you keep that aside, hygiene aside for a minute, if anything invasive and manual, by definition, slows the line. And if you look at a large hospital with 700 patients, admitted patients, and they have to be served lunch, which is a combination of, by the way, on an average 5-6 things. You would have seen the pictures on the challenge participant. And they have to be served within an hour. You cannot slow that line down. So just like we said, low hardware, low capex, low, you shouldn't require, very high speed, broadband internet and stuff like that. Just like we have talked about those, we are also emphasizing on the fact that it has to be able to handle very high throughput speed. Therefore, that's the reason why Manish is saying first and last tray, one per tray, that kind of stuff. The sampling means you don't need to hold the line back. You can let the line go, just pick up one bowl, test it, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Any other questions, Adarsh?
So, Adarsh, so one more point, though. Sorry, I just want to add one more point. Just want to clarify, actually. So, on the patient side, we like to do it more, as I told you, more sampling based and all that stuff, and do some smart sampling to do it. But on the, I would say, when we receive the materials, that is where the whole process becomes much more, I would say, it has to be done almost every time, okay? When you're receiving the raw materials, especially the raw materials which have to be kept in the refrigerator, so which has to come chilled or or are frozen in nature. And of course, food, vegetable, meats are some those kind of category of items which we have to definitely take temperature for on a larger sample basis there. Okay, and again, they are event based, not a logger based kind of a thing.
Yeah,
understood.
But just to be clear, the problem statement is focused on the patient.
So, yeah, actually,
sorry, just to be clear, the problem statement that we have articulated, the primary problem statement is focused on the food that is going to the patient being of the right temperature. But just like we said at the beginning of the meeting, that a lot of these technologies have transversal applications within the unit or within across sectors and across different areas within the unit. And therefore, of course, this kind of a mechanism could have a application for the receiving area, the store, etc., so on and so forth. But just to be clear, the primary problem statement is that if the dal is supposed to reach the patient at X degrees plus or minus 5, the technology should be able to tell us either on sample or on full basis that the dal is indeed reaching the patient during lunch X degrees plus or minus 5. And there should be a data record of that which can be made transparently visible to the client.
Understood. Just one last follow-up question. And you mentioned that I think the inward traceability or supplier traceability is not a part of the current scope. However, I mean, we generally think of all these problems as end-to-end traceability problems. So is that something we should make it a part of the proposal or not at this stage?
Yeah. So if you see the problem statement, it clearly says that there are additional areas where these solutions could be applicable within the unit. I believe the problem statement talks about that. And one of the areas where temperature monitoring could be applicable is in the receiving stores, like we said. So you could include that. You could absolutely include that. There is no problem. But just to be clear that the primary problem statement we are trying to solve and the problem statement that hospital actually cares directly about, they actually don't care. I mean, of course, they care that you shouldn't have spoiled food and all that. But the assumption is you're doing all of that stuff anyways because it's a much easier problem to solve. What hospitals really care about and patients really care about, if you were in the hospital, you would care about is when you're getting the food, it is exactly the temperature that it's supposed to be. That's what you care about, and that's what we're trying to solve.
Fair enough. Sorry, I'm asking one more question. Is all of your food cooked locally in the hospitals, or is there a central kitchen concept?
So
and go ahead, Subroto. Sorry.
No, so just the majority of the hospitals that we work with today have on-site kitchens. A few don't. For them, for especially actually a very small number. But we do expect, as we grow this business, we do expect a reasonable portion of our business to come from hospitals, small hospitals, or hospitals that are space constrained in our very expensive real estate kind of areas, where we might have to have an offsite model where everything cannot be cooked on site. Maybe on site is more finishing and traying and plating, and some of the food can come from outside. So the contour of the business today is largely on site. As the business evolves and grows, we see offsite kind of increasing in percentage just because of the how the market is shaped from that standpoint. And the onsite, almost everything except for the MRP items or packaged goods, everything is cooked in situ on the site. And of course, that, like I said, with dahi or something like that, that actually is a packaged good that we stock and then serve to the clients, to the patients.
So, thanks, Subroto.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks for your patience. Thank you.
Yeah, Subroto, Uday here. Just wanted to understand. There's a question on the chat also. Suresh Srinivasan has asked. The context to the question I feel is that having gone through almost at home 7 years of bedridden patient, I also have a lot of connection with this problem statement you asked me. As to so what he's asking is that one quick question from him is that if they provide data platform which takes care of all the data across the data sources and provide a solution which is a kind of a portal and address the 3 problem statements, where I'm coming from is just to add to this question is that I have seen that a patient also has that patient feedback is extremely critical. Instant feedback from all the patients, and then aggregate that, and if there are any tweaking needed in the menu or the recipe or anything, I mean, in terms of uh, the various ingredients in it, then I think that is also critical thing. So, do you think that we would want to also ask for solutions around someone who is trying to give this aggregated portal and all that?
Yeah. So let me break that question into two parts. Second part, which is the shorter, smaller part, is around patient feedback. 100%. It is extremely important, and it is shocking that you can give a feedback to Zomato and Swiggy in 1 second. But if you're a patient, you're supposed to fill up a huge questionnaire, out of which one question is food, and probably sign that up, fill that up at the time of discharge. So the capturing the patient feedback or visitor or attendant feedback at the time of service or right after service is a capability we already have. That technology we've already developed and defined for the corporate sector. And the technology stack that we are bringing to bear in the healthcare sector already has that built in. So that part is so kind of solved for. And the using the digital app or the PWA, you are able to give instant feedback, and we can see that feedback. We can do insight analysis, trending on the feedback, and we can actually give that exposure to that feedback to the hospital, the client, hospital admin as well. So they know exactly how patients are rating certain food services, dishes, ingredients within the dishes, what are the key issues, challenges, etc. So that's the second part of the point. The first part, which is related to what Suresh has got here in the chat. So data platform is not where we are trying to land here. I believe a data platform will be an important aspect of any solution, but we are not looking for a solution that is only a data platform, which is basically saying that you give me all the endpoints, you have all the endpoints, you have all the devices, etc. I am just the data platform where I'll ingest all the data and analyze and give you reports. That is not where we want to start. We want a comprehensive solution, because frankly, it is actually easier for us to solve the data platform layer because of the capability we have as a company than it is for us to solve the hardware and the endpoint problem. So it is more difficult for us to solve whether IR is the right technology for temperature monitoring, where should that hardware come from, what size and form factor that hardware should be. All of that is, to be honest, slightly away from the core for us than to build a platform that ingests information and creates excellent analytical output. So
Thanks. I think
I don't know whether that answers the question directly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at least I got the clarity. I hope, even Suresh, if in case you have any further question, you can unmute and ask. But I think, thanks, Subroto. I think I got the clarity.
Yeah, am I audible? Because my mic was actually not properly working.
Yeah, we can hear you, Suresh.
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for actually asking the question, and thanks for answering the question. My question is basically, if you want to do a one-on-one personalization for the patient and creating a patient graph and then providing a comprehensive solution, which, see, the IoT or the data, even the machine data, we can take it and we can provide everything as a one unified with the one-on-one personalization. Is that something which you are looking for? As a complete solution is my question.
Yeah.
Whether
So like I said, we are looking for a comprehensive solution. We are not looking for a platform only, data platform only solution. I just want to be a little clear on that. We are looking for a complete solution that covers everything, and where let's say you have a cloud-based platform where obviously you have the entire hardware stack ready. You're able to how to deploy it, how to measure this data, what is the best way of doing it, smartest way of doing it. You have all of that. You have the ability to ingest all of that data in a cloud-based platform, for example, and then we can figure out if our infra can connect with that cloud platform, and we can figure out how the entire solution will work, because there's a lot of complementary data that we will have with us that we can pair with the service delivery data that this particular solution may have, and the combination of those two data points. So for example, labor deployment and service timing, you can connect those two data points and figure out if there is a where exactly the issue is lying. So that a lot of insighting happens when two data sets come together. So we can do that, but just to answer your question, we are not looking for a platform-only solution. Data platform-only solution.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I got the answer. I will actually provide the complete my slides, maybe like part of this, and maybe you can talk later post that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So
There
there is
also
one question from Krishna. I think that had been up for a while, and there is something question from Zatik, I believe. So let's take Krishna's question first.
Yeah, please.
Then we'll come to Zatik.
Yeah. Hi guys. Good afternoon. I'm Krishna from Carpine, and we provide smart labels based on QR code and RFID, NFC stickers, and the data would be stored on blockchain. Couple of questions. So first question is looking at the unit economics. We have different buckets based on the ticket size. QR code solution costs somewhere around 20 paise, RFID 3 rupees, and NFC 12 rupees, and scratch code somewhere around 4 rupees. So which bucket does the solution actually fit into per unit? Per meal, where are we looking at? Reason being, if it is a QR based blockchain backed solution, then all we require is just Android phones, don't require any extra hardware. And if it is RFID or NFC, any other tracking technology, then we might start looking at RFID readers where there would be installation permissions and then cost of devices coming into picture. So the first question is, how do we do this? And second question, I have been in healthcare, Allscripts CMR for more than 5 years. So if we are sharing the data of different hospitals, I know this is not directly related to patient data, but however, there are few rules as to whether the data could be shared or not. So we use permissioned blockchains, which means the data is private. So will these locations be having each of its own data set, or all these hospitals could be shared on single blockchain network, which is private again?
So I am not going to jump to blockchain as the answer. So that's TBD. We'll figure it out as we go along. Let me answer the first part of your question around pricing. So the short answer to your question, Krishna, is if you feel that you can almost imagine three types of solutions, each at different price points, and you believe, obviously, a lot of times price and data quality, accuracy, all of these things there are trade-offs involved. But if you believe that you can expose these trade-offs and all these solutions to us and have a comprehensive conversation, we would love to have that. Because the reason why I'm not giving you a direct answer is because there is no direct answer from the client side as well. We have hospitals that are 3x of each other in terms of, or 2x of each other in terms of billing per unit billing.
Kindly go on mute if you're not speaking, please. Sorry. Hello. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So short answer to first question, Krishna, is that please share everything, and you can share it in terms of solution frameworks, low cost to highest cost, and then you can explain what the trade-offs are and easy to implement, dependencies, etc., so on and so forth.
Pretty much more of automation, Subroto. If we want a fully automatic solution, then it's RFID. If it's a manual one by one, then it's a 2D barcode kind.
So Krishna, so let me answer. Basically, we will not like to change too much on the workflow, the way it operates on the ground in the kitchens and of course on the service side of it. We like to basically have the solution which can be part of it. Okay, so basically, I think you will have to once we go through this process, you will have to understand. You will have to go and understand how exactly the whole process works, so that and what, as Subroto said, what is the right solution which fits into that process flow needs to be ascertained, and then we can talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay. So and the second question around blockchain, and like I said, we don't want to jump into whether that's the right way of doing this. Please propose if you feel that with all these explanations and answers, you have solution that can solve this. Absolutely, please let's take that discussion forward in partnership with
Krishna, as long as we can logically segregate the data and provide the security around it and data privacy
Yeah.
around it.
So
I think, yeah.
basically, it's just about secure data and transparency. I mean,
Yeah.
there could never be any better solution than this.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay,
now
thanks.
I'm going to jump to a question on the right on the panel. Can you explain the user journey here? Is the patient rights to choose their own food because we are making a
Seems to be around personalization as well as user journey.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly sure how the word user journey is. User journey means many things to many people. It is being applied here, but broadly the way it works, if you look at, there are 2-3 types of food programs in a hospital. If you have seen a hospital, there is an inpatient dining that happens, which is called IPD service. Then there is a attendant, which is typically a room service menu. Good hospitals have room service menus. Then you will typically have a visitor cafe, and then you will typically have a staff and doctors dining. And in big hospitals, the hero departments will have a private cafe, and then you'll have nursing staff will have a different cafe. Junior doctors, paramedics will have a different. They'll have one cafe, and then the top 30, 40 HODs of the hospital will have a much more exclusive private cafe. So this is how it typically, and then of course there is a food court and retail opportunities in big hospitals. Is really how the overall food program is designed. For a patient, typically the way the journey happens is based on the patient's underlying condition and the procedure that the patient is in for. The dietitian decides what type of meal that person can eat, and there is usually, not always, a conversation between the dietitian and the patient in terms of any substitutions that the patient might be interested in, especially if the patient has low diet restrictions. There are many cases, 60-70% of admitted patients in a hospital don't have dietary restrictions because they might be actually in for a broken leg or something like that. So and then obviously the entire once the dietitian has completed the rounds, the diet slips are get created. The diet slips get pushed to the kitchen. The kitchen prepares the food. They know how many or what type of meal, what type of dish is required. So it almost runs like a factory. Then it's plated, either plated in the kitchen or plated at the floor. So if you go to a big hospital, you'll see there are pantries at the end of the floors. It's plated at that floor, put into a food warmer or a food cart, wheeled to the wing, and then it goes from door to door, from room to room. Most rooms are double or triple sharing, and then the patients, there's a slip that the server compares it with, and then the food is served with the patient. So that's really how the user journey happens. Patients have limited flexibility in general, limited flexibility in what food they eat. But one of the things that we are doing as part of our new proposition is we've created an extremely powerful and scientifically designed, much wider, much more sensorially relevant menu that attendants and patients can have the choice from, and the dietitian is able to actually have those choices that they can also recommend to the patient. So that's really how it works and how we are planning to change it. Yes, I mean, patients have like I said, depending on the condition of the patient, patients will have either zero control over the food they eat, or they will have significant control over the food they eat if they are in for a minor matter. And then of course there are dietitians on every floor who will check on our staff, who will check before the trays go out. They will check that, especially the ones that are sensitive menus, like zero salt, for example, or things like that. Those menus will be checked on an exception basis to just ensure that, at least today, that's how right food, right patient is kind of ensured more on an exception basis. Does that answer the question, Zatik?
Yeah. Hi, Subroto. This is Sadik. How are you doing? Actually, thanks for the explanation here. So that what are the things that you said that's really answered my questions here. So what I really wanted to convey to is actually we have been in the platform of we have in the solution of extended reality, which is AR, VR, and MR. So what are the informations that we have been sharing? Okay, instead of going with the browsers, or instead of the patient should know how healthy that food is, right? So how we are planning to delivering it to the patient that the hospital is, taking care of the food in these kind of manners. So behind the food that these processes are happening. So is there any plan, any way to convince these things to the patient so that the patients can know the standards of hospital that has been given to these foods? So what will be happening?
Sorry, if we
project.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Subroto. Yeah, if we project all these things over an augmented reality platform, the platform is nothing but this technology can be integrated into any platform, whether if it's a blockchain or if there's an app, web app, we can enable it in a QR code itself. So, with the patient or a doctor or whoever visitors, whomever is able to scan the QR code and viewing all the stuff that behind this food process, behind the single parcel of food, these much process has been taken care of. Right?
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to comment on AR as a tech, but the way at least we are solving for this is one of the things that we are doing is everything that is served in the hospital. We have an extremely comprehensive macro and micro nutritional database that we are exposing in a contextually relevant manner to the patient, whoever is actually wants to understand what they are eating. So food labels, energy, carb, fat, protein, micronutrients, how it is relevant for the patient, etc. All of that is exposed through a digital interface on a smartphone that every patient actually in the hospital can access and look at what they are eating and what they are consuming over a surveys over the entire day, how it is helping them. All of that is already in place. Now, whether an AR-based solution can make this more immersive, and whether the cost economics will work, particularly given that a lot of hospitals, as you know, are very price, generally when it comes to food, a very price conscious segment, particularly when it comes to IPD, because the lower the food, the higher the margin, because the billing for the room is fixed, lower the cost of the food. So we'll have to see. I don't know the answer to that right now, but that's how we are solving for it. That is the information transparency to the patient.
Yes.
Any other questions from anyone?
Subroto, I think that Uday here again, while someone can come out with any questions they may have, but I have a quick one. This was asked earlier, but in terms of these hospitals, right? Super specialty, multi-specialty, typically mid-size hospitals, 300 to whatever bedded, 150 to say, whatever is within our scope, and above. So the food, whether many places they don't have the full-fledged kitchen. So what are in scope? The food will be made outside and brought in from the kitchens, or what is it? Or you will also.
I answered this question.
Yeah.
So like I said, most of the hospitals, almost all the hospitals we serve right now are the kitchen is on site in situ, which means that the food is you get the raw material and packaged goods, branded items, and then everything is made, or whatever is cooked inside the kitchen of the hospital, and then it goes to all these areas that I talked about.
Got it.
But if you see the market, there is a reasonable part of the market, especially in densely populated, dense inner city areas where there is a lot of real estate challenges.
Correct.
Where hospitals are constrained in terms of kitchen space, and whenever we pitch for those contracts, we pitch an offsite model where the voluminous cooking happens offsite, and more the finishing and the traying and the plating and the serving happens within the hospital. So so that's really it. I mean,
thanks. I think that clarifies. Yeah. So 70% is almost on-site, and then the rest 30% could be still
actually today it is overwhelmingly on-site.
Oh, great.
But if you look at the market,
yes,
the market has a reasonably substantial off-site component.
Correct. For instance, I mean, I have a quick recall I would like to mention here is most of the, I mean, it is a tier 2 city, my hometown, but quite a good specialty hospitals, but none of them really have a good kitchen.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the moment you drop below 500 or 400 beds, the hospital's desire to set up a block of a large amount of space for cooking food, that desire drops dramatically. And a lot of these, yes, you're right. I think you go to the lower end of the size scale, you probably have more preference for an offsite model there than super specialty, small boutique hospitals. We'll probably operate more in that model.
Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I? Yeah, my name is Anthony. I have two quick questions. One is from what I'm hearing, I'm assuming that there will be basic Wi-Fi and that that will be provided. I can assume, right? I mean, that is first question. And second question is integration. Looks like there are a lot of integrations. So I would like to know what the different integrations are, if at all there are any.
Yeah.
So don't assume, Anthony, that there will be Wi-Fi. Not many customers are ready to give their Wi-Fi to us. Okay. So expect most of the things on a mobile network. Okay. Or
I mean, there will be some network.
Mobile there'll be some network. Yeah, mobile network, some network. Okay. Yeah, some network. And
worse comes to worse in SMS. Right?
Yeah, finally worse come worse or M2M kind of a SIM-based approach. Depending on the kind of things you're working on. Okay. Yes, there will be some integrations definitely required, like the integrations with our systems, which do the menu planning. Okay. So it will be kind of integrated to that, so that we are able to tag it to the right menu or the right dish, all that stuff. Okay.
Okay. Hello. All right.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah.
Has any question? Yeah.
This is Tushar from Logicsoft. We guys are just wondering, you guys were serving as a catering partner for many of the hospitals. We just want to know that is the hospitals providing HMS or PMS, what is hospital management system access or patient management system access to you guys? What kind of food need to deliver, or we need to get the food registered in our system manually?
So Tushar, basically they don't provide by default any access to their HIS. Okay. What some of the hospitals do provide their interface where we can go and access what exactly the diet slips have been recommended for each and every patient. Okay. And we have the access to print those diet slips. Okay. So again, there are different scenarios. Some hospitals provide access to their systems and the diet slips the dietitians are planning. Some of them pass out that information to our system.
And one more question followed by this, we have gone to some of the hospitals to verify the food is being served or what kind of categories. We found that there are 2 to 3 categories to the patient. The food is served for adult, for little patient, child patients, you may say, or adult, and other is diabetic or condition-based food. So there are 4 categories. On your prior experience on food catering to hospitals, may I know, is there any large number of categories food being served, or is this limited kind of food?
There are different. So there are 4 or 5 diet types. Okay, 4 to 5 diet types, and at least 3 texture types, 3 to 4 texture types. A combination of these. That's how it gets served in a large hospital. Okay, so the diet types could be like a normal one. The other one could be like diabetic. The other one could be cardiac diet related diet. There could be neutropenic and all that stuff. Okay, so these are 4 or 5 diet types, and then the texture types could be normal, semi-solid, or soft, or liquid diets. Liquid diets also have 2 categories, clear and I think So there are 3 or 4 categories there also. So combination of 5 to 6 cross 4 works.
Okay. Thanks for answering. Okay.
Thanks. So I don't see any more questions.
Hi, this is Sumit. I had raised my hand.
Yeah, please. Sumit.
Hi, Subroto. Hi, Manish. Thank you for the explanations and the clarifications today. For the proposal that we need to submit, we would need some indication of quantities and or scope. So we say 2 hospitals, but we need to either jointly come up with a bill of quantities that we might need to put together. Now, how would we go about doing it?
So we will, so from a quantity perspective, of course, for our pilot you're talking about, the pilot is basically,
right
it
now,
will be, I think what you should do right now, Sumit, is that assume some quantities depending on one hospital, okay, one or two hospitals for the pilot. And of course, if we reach that stage where you guys get shortlisted, we'll definitely get into more deeper things around it, of course, including a site visit, so that you come to know exactly what's needed, okay? But right now, put some indicative numbers, and any intelligent guess is good enough right now for us. So we are more interested in to understand if there are some unit prices and overall project cost and all that stuff, which will be required. So yeah, but the specifics will come in when we reach that stage, and it will be followed by a site visit.
Okay, so right now we would just need to outline our integrated solution for all of these.
Yes, and some unit prices wherever it is.
Okay, thank you so much. I got my answer.
Thanks.
I just want to know one more thing. You guys mentioned that you need temperature control food delivery arrangement for hospitals. May I know your previous experience, how you encounter this problem, how you consider that food temperature of the food is not right, which is being delivered. I'm considering the hot food only. Room temperature and cold meals I'm not considering in this.
So I didn't get the question. Maybe you repeat it again.
I'm saying that as you were serving food priorly, so how you encounter this problem that customer is not feed with the right temperature food? How you came across this problem?
So so it is basically about, after speaking to the hospitals only, and of course speaking to the dietitians and the F&B staff, or F&B, not staff, I would say F&B heads of these hospitals, we have been able to find out this particular problem statement. Okay, so that's the primary source. Of course, we also encounter some exceptions also which do happen in our operations. Okay, and there is no, I would say, digital way of getting that data today. It's quite manual approach which is used and which is prone to errors. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, just to add to what Manish is saying, right food, right patient, right temperature, right time is actually a standard problem statement in the healthcare sector. If you go and speak to spend time with the admin teams, F&B and admin teams of hospitals, and you ask them what are their, of course they'll talk about cost challenges and forget about the macro issues the sector is facing and all of that. One of the issues that they'll talk about is this, that this has to be ensured and we need to absolutely ensure that this happens every time. Unfortunately, even though it's an understood problem statement, at least we haven't seen evidence of people, there's a big move towards bringing in technology to transform these operations within a hospital. I think all the big focus of technology has been on HIS and on, interventional software and, robotic surgery and all of those infra type of surgical interventions and infrastructure around that. So to answer your question, how do we know it's a problem? It's because, yes, admin people, hospital admin people have told us, patients have told us, you can intuitively understand that this is a problem, just like it's a problem when you sit at home and get your food. It's a problem when you are in the hospital bed and you get your food as well. And if you spend time with the admin team, they will clearly articulate this as a problem. And it comes up every time we have RFP conversations.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Uday. This is Sagar here from Change Pay. So we are a closed commerce delivery solutions. We are right now into campus with the same use case. So I think Manish and Subroto have given a brief on the workflow or the journey that has happened. So can you just elaborate a bit? Maybe I've missed that point on from nutrition slip to F&B heads. Manish was saying there's a manual interaction that happens. Am I right?
Yeah. So basically, every dietitian visits every patient and they do the patient meal planning almost on an everyday basis. Okay.
Yeah.
For each and every patient, and those information basically is fed into their dietary systems, okay, and gets converted, or that information flows into our systems, or their systems are able to generate diet slips and production plan basis that. Okay. And we have access either directly to the diet slips and the production plan, which is basically shared through their systems, or we get the full data and we generate our own diet slips and production plan basis that.
Okay, got
it. Did I give the answer?
Yeah. So one more add-on to that. So right now, do you have any solutions which are actually turning on that diet slip into a production planning, or you want this solution which is we are providing right now?
We have that solution. We
Okay.
have that solution. In fact, so both things are there. Either the hospital has it. If the hospital doesn't have it, we have it.
Okay,
we take that information and convert it.
So that will be, I mean, the output of that system is a menu, right? So
yes,
we get into menus.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. But when you do a right food to the right patient, you need to refer to those diet slips either in physical form or electronic form.
Got it. Understood.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Sagar. Thanks, Subroto and Manish, for clarifying that.
Great. I think we're at the end of the hour. If there are any further questions, I believe, Uday, you guys will have an option or a way of surfacing that to us.
Yes. You could always post the questions on the website. The email ID is given, or you could also, send an email. I am just putting my email ID here. You could send it to me as well. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate the fact that you took some time out to attend this, and really look forward to working with whoever is interested in taking this forward. Look forward to working with you guys and taking this forward, and long-term partnership on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Subroto.
Thank you.
Thanks, Subroto, Manish, and Pratik, really, and on all the participants, really. I mean, look forward to really very engaged. I mean, today's session was very engaging, and really appreciate all the participation. Likewise, would expect your solutions also to come in those specific details. And this video will be always available on demand while you create your solution. If you may want to go through again, this is going to be available on the platform. So look forward for all the submissions at your earliest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.